and welcome to Rolling with Review. I'm Will, and with me as always is the vile villain of Valeria herself,
Sarah.
And today we're doing a review of Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right. Players are wardens vying to become the next general of the Dark Army. Through worker placement and dice drafting, players gain resources and raise armies to conquer the lands of Valeria. Whoever does this the best and has the most victory points at the end of the game wins. All right, Will, why did we get this?
Well, we check out most games that have the Valeria name. I'm pretty sure I've played Valeria at some point. Because there's quests and Card Kingdoms.
Card Kingdoms being our favorite, but yeah,
Yes.
we definitely enjoy several of the other ones.
Villages of Valeria.
Yeah. We haven't gotten them all. Like, I don't think we got the Margraves.
No.
But
In fact, this one sounded one of the most different with it having Shadow Kingdoms.
Right. And that's the other reason. It's not just because it's a Valeria game, but the mechanisms of the game really interested us.
Yes. So we had to check it out.
Yep. So moving on to what we like about the game, let's start with the mechanics. The worker placement is, it's really interesting because you put a worker out on one of the 5 spaces and you draft a die and you do the action. Now that seems relatively straightforward, but there's a lot of choice about which die you take. Of course, first of all, which place you're going to go to, and then which die you're going to draft, because those dice have multiple uses.
Yeah, a lot of their uses, well, actually their uses are to fight the battles.
Right.
And that's where this game is super clever in its mechanisms. The whole point of the game is to do battles, because the game will only end after one player has done 7 battles. You'll still play an equal number of turns, but that's the point of the game. Now, one thing that I got really interested in with this game is a lot of times you'll go after the main point of the thing. And you'll spend all these resources and put all this effort in, and the game rewards you with points, which is nice because that's how you win. However, it feels like I took one giant step forward and now I've taken 3 steps back because I no longer have all these resources. Everything's out of position and I have to refocus, start all over, and do this whole thing again. It's like Sisyphus pushing a boulder up a hill. In this game, though, once you complete a battle, things happen. Yes, you'll get the points, but you'll also uncover a spot on your board, which gives you more abilities. Maybe you can now hold another dice. Maybe you can hold more resources. Maybe the dice of your color, once per time you fight a battle, you can treat it as any color. So there's a whole bunch of different abilities. In addition, you'll take that marker and you'll put it on your conquest board. The conquest board will give you an opportunity to score even more points. And the more conquests you do that are orthogonally adjacent to one another, they'll create chain bonuses.
Right, and you get to get benefits, just more resources or things.
Yeah, so another card to reserve, and everything's just kind of working off of the whole point of the game, which is fighting battles.
Yep.
I feel like I get something done when I do the main point of this game.
Right. Agreed. I also, that was pretty much the main point of the game. Where I was going with the multi-use dice part is the fact that, yes, you're taking that die for the main strength value to use in those battles. But there's also a smaller number that is a discount. And if you're taking that die from one of the bottom 3 shrines, that smaller number impacts, well, the cost of what you're taking. And so they do it conversely, that if you choose a die that has a smaller strength, a lower strength, you get a bigger discount. So then you have this interesting choice and decision between, okay, I really want to be able to get this thing cheaper because I just don't have the money, or I want to save my money for something else. But if I draft a die that's a lower value, I'm going to have to figure out how to change it later or make it work. But there are ways to change it. You can use a gem to flip a die over, and you can use magic to increase and decrease. So there are ways to manipulate the die after you've taken it. So I just really appreciate that part of the dice.
Yes.
Speaking of magic, we kind of talked about this in the two-player video. A lot of games, the card rows get stagnant in a two-player game. But in this game, you can use magic to clear out cards. So in both the battle plans and the champions, you can spend a magic to put a card back on the bottom of the deck. Plus with the champions, they're going to completely go away every time you refill the dice on the board. So nothing ever gets stagnant.
Yeah, and when the champions clear out, that's for all player counts too. So when there's not enough dice on the board, that's the time where everything clears out, the dice get pulled off, everything gets reseeded with new dice, champions get cleared.
Yeah, so that works really well. I think that was about everything that we liked about the game.
Okay, dislike.
So this one is probably going to be the most challenging part for me. Is this game really, if you have different skill levels, the game is going to be really unfun, more unfun for the person with the lower skill level. There's just no catch-up mechanics in the game. And as you do things, if you're not as efficient as the other player, the victory point gap just keeps widening. And so, for example, everybody starts off at 0. And at the beginning, you're only going to be getting maybe 5 to 7 victory points because you're going to be doing smaller battles. You just can't get the values up, and you've got blocks in the way that you have to unlock to get higher points. So let's say I do a battle thing and I was able to get 5 points. Well, then Will, because he's just a little bit better skill, he managed to get 7 points. So we already got a small gap. And then the next battles come along and he's already jumped up to being able to do a battle with 3 dice. So he's just gained, like 12 points. But when I get to one, I only managed to gain 9 points. And so the gap just keeps widening. And because there's no catch-up mechanisms, you can pretty much tell, or at least I could for the 3 games we played, I could never catch up. It was just impossible.
Yeah, the name of the game is Efficiency.
Yeah.
And this is an efficiency engine. And if you have a player that you play along with them and then all of a sudden they bust out this turn that they're doing like 6 different things, this is probably their bread and butter.
Yeah.
Because it's going to reward thinking in those multiple directions, which I apparently excel very well. We did compare scores on BGG for those who actually mark down scores in 2-player games. Sarah is playing at the average level and has scores that would
have won.
Yeah, would have won a game. I kind of stripped those scores out, so
at the lowest, he was 15 points above me. At the highest, he was 40 more points.
33 points.
Okay, 33
It wasn't
points.
crazy like 40. That's crazy.
It was a lot. And like I said, it's disheartening to see this. My thing goes up, my little marker goes up, but his goes up this. And so here's our markers on the board and it just keeps going wider. And then he passes the 0 mark and I'm still, so that's 70 because the board goes around 70. And I'm still down here at 45 and he just got to 73. Yes, as we said, most of the time I caught up enough that it wasn't a huge difference, but it was still, I think I only got above, I got above 70, but I only got above 100 once, and that was with some of the expansion stuff.
Yeah.
But anywho, so the downside is if you are different skill levels, or if you're different skill levels and you don't like that. Like for me, yes, I could understand that I'm trying to learn how to get better, and there were points where I felt like some things I was doing was getting better. But Will was always getting better, so the rate of catching up just wasn't there. But in another, different people, this kind of disparity might not be a bad thing. It would be motivating to the person who's not doing as well. Kind of like how you said you played chess against your father for years and as a kid, and you never won until...
Yeah, it was like about 13 years of me constantly losing before I finally won a game. But I like playing that way. I like playing from behind.
Exactly. So it takes a certain personality to appreciate and enjoy that situation.
Which it sounds like what we're getting into. Who is this game for?
Yes. Who this game is going to be for is definitely the hardcore gamers. Just the concepts going on in this game and all the different things that you have to think about. This is not for a lighter, casual family game at all.
Right. Yeah. It's meaty.
It's very meaty.
It'll take a while to get through the rules. Fortunately, the rules are fairly well written.
Yeah.
Sarah mentioned this in the Rolling with Two. She wishes there was a bit more reference material when it comes to some of the concepts, because it does use a lot of iconography.
Yes, it does. So this is probably also going to be for those of more equivalent skill. Just in general, two people of the same skill level are going to have a more enjoyable time going head to head. And assuming you want that head to head conflict type of, and the whole thing is you're not actually fighting each other.
With all the battles going on, you're never once touching each other.
But there's just a lot of things where you're trying to get things done before the other player. So it still feels like there's this tension going on between the players of, okay, I need to get this done first. Oh, but wait, if I don't do this other thing first, they're going to take it. But are they really going to take it? So you're always thinking about what the other. Well, again, we've only played two people, so what the other person's going to do. In a higher player count, I can only imagine that's exacerbated in that you really need to pay attention to what everybody's doing.
Yeah, it's a blend of a race game with a one-upsmanship.
Yes.
So, yeah, that really highlights skill, and that's what you need to watch out for.
Agreed.
Because this game does last a good 2 hours.
Right. So it took us longer when you're first learning it, but since we did get it the table 3 times, the third time it was definitely a 2-hour game, and I don't think we'd get it done much faster than that. I think that was us playing pretty efficiently, knowing the concepts at that point.
Yeah, or you can play more than 2 players and let the really good player just win, but everyone else is really knowing what they're there for. They're playing against each other.
Yes,
that could also be a thing. Well, it's time for reviews. So for reviews, we each have 1d6 worth of ratings to give. 1 is low, 6 is high. We give a number, reason why, then add those numbers together to see what it rolled for us. Sarah, what did Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria roll for you?
So this might be a little surprising, but the thing is, I recognize that this is a well-crafted game. It is tight. It is definitely very streamlined. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of excess things going on. So I appreciate it. It's not a game for me. But on that point, I'm still going to give it a 4. It's not a game I would ever want to play again against Will. It is possibly a game I would play against other people. However, with the current state of how things are in our household and the world at large, I only see for the future that it would be a game that Will and I play. So this is not a game I want to play again.
All right, for me, mechanically, this game is awesome. Mm-hmm. I think if I was just basing it purely on that, I would give it a 6, because I love everything this game does. However, the experience I had, especially playing against Sarah, I felt like I hooked up a hose to her brain and just watched it all leak out. And as we got into further plays of the game, I even saw dread from her. And at the end of the day, when I play a board game, I want to have a good social experience. That's why I have to give it a 4. It really kicked itself down because of the social interaction we had. Mm-hmm. And then even after the game was over, for hours on end, I had not so much my wife, but I had a zombie. And
I was pretty brain dead.
Yeah, I like, Sarah, what do you want to do next? I don't you want to do this? And it felt bad because it felt like I was torturing her with something she absolutely loves, which was board games. So the overall, I won all 3 games that we played. I won handily. I had a great time. I thought it was an interesting brain challenge. But seeing what it did to my partner, no, I can't give it a higher than a 4. And that's essentially the reason why.
again, I think what we're in agreement here, if you're looking at this straight from a mechanical aspect, if you took Will and Sarah out of this equation, I don't know how you would do that. But if you took us out of the equation and we were somehow still able to rate the game, I think we would both rate it a 6. And it would get a 12 out of 12. The problem being, we are still part of it. And this is our opinion, not just a straight objective clinical review of it.
Yeah, and we come at it knowing that there was a skill difference.
Yes.
And we know that's why you shouldn't play it that way.
Right.
Because it can be very harmful.
So knowing that there's a skill difference, and I'm not in the type of person to enjoy that skill level difference, I think this being an 8 out of 12 is still coming through, that this is a good game. Yeah. It's a very strong game. It needs the right players. At the moment, we are not those right players.
No, I'm totally the right player.
Well, okay, Will's totally the right player. I'm the wrong opponent for Will to play with because he's not getting either the challenge or the social enjoyment that he wants out of this game. Because he wants to be able to talk after the game saying, oh man, did you see when I did that? And I'm just sitting there like, can I go to bed now?
Yeah.
Because I'm just done.
And I'm like, it's 3?
It's like 3 in the afternoon. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for bed. I'm done.
Yeah.
So we're putting this all with a caveat of an opinion is an opinion because it's our opinion.
You said opinion a lot.
I did say opinion a lot.
Anyway, let me move this along. This is 8 out of 12. It's a very respectable score for a game that we had a actually poor experience with.
I hate to say that. I really don't want to say that I had a poor experience with the game because I respect it.
Yeah, it's a stinking smart game.
It is a stinking smart game. I agree with that.
And we took it apart every which way, and we just realized, no, it's just not for us.
It isn't.
So that will do it for us here at Rolling with Reviews. And Sarah, if you were able to conquer Valeria, what were you going to do with it?
I don't know. Glitter?
Glitter. That's interesting because we are Rolling with Reviews. And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with 2. That's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And if you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you. Because remember, he's rolling with you.